In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Who remembers the BJ and Bill show all those years ago on WOLZ? Well, many have said they missed the show, and guess what? They're back. Welcome to the BJ and Bill podcast.
All right. Welcome to round 2 of the BJ and Bill podcast. We had a good time last week, and we figured, let's do it again.
and nobody stopped us.
Yeah.
You know, nobody came barging in to say, hey, you guys, quit that. So here we are.
That's all wrong. Don't do that again.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, a couple things that did happen, though, over the last week.
Yes.
For our listeners to know about. We have a brand new Facebook page.
Yes, we do. And an email address. Tell us about that, Mr. Odom.
It's called the BJ and Bill podcast. So that's all you got to do. Just put it in the search the BJ and Bill podcast.
The BJ and Bill podcast?
Yeah, it's the. I put the in there because, we are also going to be up on the podcastplayground.com.
That's right. So thank you for that. So when you search, it's put the THE in the beginning there, the BJ and Bill podcast. Awesome. We also have an email address, right?
Right. I didn't put the in front of that. I don't think now I don't have it in front of me. I think it's BJ and Bill show at gmail.com.
Hang on. I've got I got the,
you're going to check it out.
I'm going to check it because you sent me the text message that had it in here. And now I'm going to look for it. Yeah. BJ. Yes, it is, folks. Write this down. BJ and Bill show at gmail.com. So it's just BJ and Bill show at gmail.com. No the in there.
Although, awesome. there's another BJ and Bill, because I was just going to put BJ and Bill.
Oh, really?
But there's another BJ and Bill out there. Are they a radio show? Are they two lovers? What are they for sure?
Oh God, that's scary. And where did you see this, or how did you find this out?
Well, when you do the Google thing, or not Google, but when you make your email.
Oh, right. When you start to create an email
tells
address.
You this has been taken. So BJ and Bill is all I was going to have on there, BJ and Bill at gmail.com, but that has already been taken.
We need to get our high-powered law firm. If only we had one. We need to get our lawyers on this.
Or else
see who these guys are.
At least send them an email saying, who the hell are you guys?
Are you sure it wasn't? Are you sure you didn't do it like 15 years ago?
That could be. I don't know. Because I think we did do an email a long time ago.
I thought we did too.
Wouldn't it be gone by now?
Probably, but I'm not a Google expert, even though I do play one on TV sometimes. But no, I don't. That'd be awesome. Well, you could just go to Gmail and just say, I forgot my password. And if it comes back to you, then you know that it's yours.
Yeah. Because I still have the same phone number that I had. Probably
I've had the same number. I've had the same phone number
40 years ago.
I've had the same phone number for got to be 30 years. Yeah. Got to be 30 years.
Well, I'm going to go back to a farther way back machine than when we had the BJ and Bill show.
Right.
And that was when I was working in radio in Fort Myers at a station called WDCQ.
Wow. Set the Wayback Machine.
Oh, yeah. And I was doing a remote at a phone company, a cellular phone company, and I bought my very first bag phone.
Oh, gosh. I had one of those. I had one of those when I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was working for a radio out there. And yeah, it was like the size of a shoebox in a leather baggie, like a purse, like a over the shoulder bag.
Yeah.
And it was thousands of, I don't know about thousands, but it was probably like $1,500. And then the cell phone service, you couldn't be on it for very long because they were charging you by the minute.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
And this had this cool little antenna that you could take and you could stick on your windshield. It had suction cups and you could put it on your windshield.
I had one of those. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I remember this was the coolest thing. I'm in Arizona, right? So I had one and I left it in the car for 10 minutes or something. And I came back and I tried to make a call and it didn't work. It was overheated or something like that. And when I eventually got home and I called, I have no idea who the service provider was or who the whatever, the hardware. And I did talk to like their quote unquote tech support. And I said, I think this thing overheated. And she goes, well, sometimes that happens. You just have to try and keep it cool. I said, ma'am, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. It's 150 degrees in my car and she's just like, oh my God, really? And I'm like, yes. She goes, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, okay, thanks. So anyway, I had one of those too.
Here's what's really crazy about mine. I got the bag phone, like I said, many, many years ago.
Right.
And I believe it was AT&T at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my cellular phone service had changed names from AT&T to, I don't know, they've changed names like 4 or 5 times.
Right.
But I never changed the number, never changed, companies until about a year ago.
Right.
I changed to Spectrum because that's in our area.
Oh, right. That's the cable
two
company.
Phones,
right?
It's only $59.98.
Right.
And
I actually changed to one of those like no name, like you'd never know it, but they, it's one of these resellers that it's like, oh yeah, we use AT&T, but we can't tell you that. But they charge like, it's like $25 a month or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, same here with Spectrum. It's like,
yeah. So anyway,
they use Verizon. Verizon is what
Verizon. You're doing
Spectrum
Verizon.
uses. They use their towers.
I know.
I don't know if they tell them or not, but they use their towers.
We're not telling anybody. Yeah, no, I have that. And so anyway, the story, the cell phone story is awesome, isn't it? How like, I guess you and I were probably what they would call early adopters because we were in the radio business and we wanted or needed to be in touch or, whatever. And now everybody, I mean, how many, some people have two or three phones. It's craziness. It's
now I do not have, and my wife kind of fought me on it, but I think she's okay now. We do not have a landline.
Oh, we don't either. I don't either.
Landmine, I guess.
Yeah. I haven't I haven't since my divorce, since I became a single human. My ex still I think she still has a landline at home. I still have that in my contacts, with her and all of that. That's a good question. How many people actually have landlines nowadays? It's like, seriously?
Well, my wife, if we ever have a hurricane or something in the electric, it's like, they're going to get that on just as fast as anything else on.
If we ever have a hurricane, here we are in Florida, folks in Cleveland are going, yeah. So if you ever have a hurricane, it's going to either blow down the cell phone towers or blow down the wired lines.
Hey, they have towers too.
Yes. Hardline phones, even though they're plugged into the wall, a lot of those go by radio as well. So it just, it's time for smoke signals. I mean, really, when the hurricane comes, it's fine. Now, I do remember, set the Wayback Machine, hurricane in Fort Myers, where the phone actually worked for a day or two after the hurricane blew through. And somebody said, oh, the phone company has these gigantic battery backups, just like you have under your desk. And they work for a couple of days and then you're done. But yeah, we could actually make a landline phone call for a day or two after the hurricane came through to, tell people we're still alive kind of thing. And then it went out. So there you go.
That's what's so funny too, because you're from, the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. As soon as there is a hurricane warning in Florida, my family calls right away. Are you okay?
Right.
What's the weather like?
Right.
It's sunny and hot. It hasn't, hasn't affected us yet.
And does it matter where? And it matters to us because we live in Florida. We're both kind of in Central Florida right now, but it's like you get that message from people. It's like, I saw a hurricane was coming to Florida. Yeah, Key West. It's 500 miles away. Like you said, sunny and hot here in Gainesville, for gosh sakes. So yeah, my mother did that literally when I moved to Florida 40 years ago or whenever it was. My mother was like, oh my God, there'll be alligators everywhere. I'm like, Mom, I'm living in a neighborhood with streets and sidewalks and whatever. She said, yeah, but I looked at the map and it's that close. And she held her fingers together. It's that close to the Everglades. I'm like, yes, it kind of is. I didn't want to tell her there were alligators everywhere, but it's like, whatever. Okay, Mom, thanks. Thanks for your concern, Mom. I appreciate that. So how did we get off on this? Oh, we got off on this on cell phones and all the history that started. Yeah, here. And then which I know you're an iPhone, you and I are both iPhone. Which iPhone do you have, and are you buying the new one?
I got the 13. I probably will not buy the new one because I just got the 13 probably 3 months ago.
There you go. Now I still have my iPhone 8 Max, and it's starting to get a little long in the tooth and a little old. So I'm thinking, but here's the thing. I'm like the geek. You know that about me. I'm like the complete and total geek. And I went online and I looked, and everybody says, unless you get the iPhone 14 Pro, which is more than $1,000, it's like the 13 is just as good as the 14. And you can get the 13 for like a lot less money. So I'm like,
that's like my wife. She got the Pro.
Yeah.
13 Pro because it has supposedly a better camera. And I will admit her pictures are probably better than mine.
Right.
But I shake when I take a picture anyway because I'm old. And so mine's going to be terrible anyway. What do you got? I don't hear it, but you got your.
Oh, you don't hear it? Okay, good. Because we got the lawnmower guy outside, but he is literally just passing by my window. So he'll be done in 10 seconds. So if you hear a little buzz there, folks, don't worry about it. That's the lawnmower guy. Yeah, no. So, and I thought about that. I thought, well, the 14, especially the 14 Pro, it's like literally almost $1,100, but it has this fabulous camera. And I think to myself, how often do I take serious pictures with my iPhone? And the answer is not very much, not much at all.
The same way.
So, I mean, I enjoy it, and I take the occasional picture at the beach or whatever when I'm out with friends. You got to do the selfie thing, but that's it. I mean, and it's like, okay, well, do I really? And that's the first time, because I'm such a geek that normally it's like, it would be mentally and spiritually impossible for me to not buy the latest and greatest. But it's like,
okay, and you say you still got the 8. How have you went through all these years? Because I figured the same thing. I've got a new one. Got to get it now.
Got to get it now. I've bought other goodies since then. Like I just got a new iPad. So which I'm loving, of course. How do you not love it? But yeah, the phone is like, I make phone calls and I take pictures now and then. And I love my maps for finding my way and stuff like that. None of that requires the latest and greatest. So
now, speaking of maps, which one do you use to get around?
Yeah.
I always have to use Waze.
Oh,
that
Waze
seems to be my go-to app.
I don't use that as often as I should. And I really like the fact that if you're on the road, on the highway especially, they will tell you, like they'll mark, where the law enforcement is or where the accidents are and where you need to be careful and all of that. I don't use it I use mostly Apple Maps, although I have had times when, God bless them, Apple Maps is just driving me in circles and I'll put it onto Google Maps or something like that. So mostly Apple Maps, but sometimes Google too.
Now, when Waze first came out, I actually, I was at another radio station where we weren't together. I think you were like maybe recording news though, for the station I was at. We would have you like record a newscast in the morning and we'd play it like a few times that morning in the Arcadia area. I remember. And I had it's like Arcadia, Florida, by the way, not California.
Right.
And I had a sheriff in the studio and we were just chatting like, you always do with your sheriff, your local sheriff. And I said, this new app, this WOLZ app, it tells you where the police are. Do you like this or not? And their words to me were, I like it. Because what it does, if you have that, it makes you aware. And the more you can be aware that there could be police officers out there, the better you're going to drive. And so if I don't get a ticket, if I can't give you a ticket, I can't give you a ticket. But just because a lot of times when you see that, and you've probably seen it too,
sure.
Says an officer, is like, a mile ahead. And by the time you get there, they're gone.
Right.
But still, for that 2 miles or 3 miles, you were very aware. And then you said, they could have went forward and stopped somebody, and they may be waiting for me there. So you probably go, maybe 10 miles where you're like being a good little boy.
Right. I remember same story, but I mean, different place, same story. A few friends of mine and I were on Sarasota Beach at Siesta Key, gigantic, huge, beautiful beach in Sarasota, Florida. And there are cops everywhere. I mean, on their little 4x4 wheelie things, and even a couple on horseback, and a couple, like guys walking and all of that stuff. And I don't mind talking. I'll talk to anybody. Of course, I'm a reporter. I walked up to one of the guys and I'm like, is there something going on? Did something happen? And he goes, no. I said, well, look at how, I said, you guys are out here in force. He goes, it's spring break. We just like to make a showing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, look, young people, we're everywhere. Don't screw up. So yeah, I thought, awesome. Did. But it's the same thing. If you know even if you think there's a chance that there's a cop out there, up ahead, and you see that on your little WOLZ app, you're going to go, all right, I'll be a good boy, at least for the next 20 minutes or so. And so, yes, it has done its job to kind of make you a little more mindful and a little more law abiding.
Now, I have a question for you.
I'm listening.
You are from the Midwest. You're from Cleveland, right? Cleveland
West
area?
Side suburbs. Yes.
And I am from Indiana, which was really, it's not a suburb, but
no,
just outside of Chicago.
Suburbs of Rensselaer, Indiana, right?
Yeah. But we were probably, I had my first heart surgery when I was just a child in Chicago, and that's where I'd always go for checkups.
Right.
And that was probably, to the doctor, it's probably about an hour and a half, to get there from our house. So we were somewhat of a suburb, I guess. A far away suburb. But, growing up, I was a big fan of, baseball, and I was a big fan of the Chicago Cubs. I lived and died by the Chicago Cubs when I was younger. But now I have moved to Florida, and you come Cleveland. What
right.
did you, because I wasn't a football fan until I'll tell that story after we talk about sports, but there's a certain story that kind of turned me into a sports fan.
Okay. So what's your question? What team?
My question to you would be, now you're from Cleveland.
Yes.
Is there a team there that you really follow?
And I did the same as you when I was a kid, early high school and before, lying in bed at night with the transistor radio, and you Cleveland people will know this, with Joe Tate in my ear, who was the play-by-play announcer for the Cleveland Indians, now Cleveland Guardians. They changed the name. And yeah, huge baseball fan. I mean, we played, in the summertime, of course, we would play. Now, we played some football too. I got to, because, I always tell people I'm from a city that didn't have a football team. I'm from Cleveland. We were like terrible for years. And we had a couple of good years, Cleveland Browns, but, not like you Chicago, Bears guys. Although, well, never mind. But anyway, yes, big baseball fan, listen to all the games. And I think that even probably listening to Joe Tate do the Cleveland games probably was an influence on me getting into radio or having an interest in it.
Now, I had the little transistor, like you said.
Yeah.
But, like back in those days, they'd have the Clear Channel stations and not Clear Channel, the company.
Right.
But, like 770 was one. It was out of New York.
Right.
And heck, you could get that thing at night.
Everywhere.
Probably everywhere,
Yep.
WSM in Nashville.
Right.
Was another one of those stations.
What was the one in Detroit? There was one we used to listen to in Cleveland that came booming in too.
Now I forget because see, I was so close to Chicago.
Oh yeah.
A lot of my radio days,
Right.
as a teenager and a kid, was listening to Chicago radio.
And those Clear Channel, and again, there's a company called Clear Channel. By the way,
now they're called iHeart.
As we
by the way,
record
that's
this,
the company that let us go. Just for
as we record this podcast, it's only been a couple of days, but I don't know when you'll hear this podcast. But the guy who was CEO, did you hear that Lowry Mays died?
Yeah, just
he was the
away.
CEO of Clear Channel and who started the whole thing. Which I'm like, I gave him a little bit of props on my Facebook post when I saw it. I'm like, yeah, he gave me a pretty darn good job and the best facility I ever worked in and all that. I remember.
Paid me the most I ever made in radio.
Paid me the most I ever made in radio. Me too.
Until it was over.
Until it was great. It's like a lot of marriages. It's great until it's not. So, no, I was going to say with those Clear Channel radio stations, and again, small C's, not capital C's as in the company. When I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, I would be driving to work at a radio station at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Who knows? And I would listen to a friend of mine, a college roommate, who was on a Clear Channel AM station in Oklahoma City. And it would 1,500 miles. It didn't matter. I don't know how far it was from Oklahoma City to Phoenix, probably 1,000 miles. And I would listen to him clear as day. And then I would, send him a Facebook or an email or something later in the day saying, hey, listen to your show and all of that. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, there was days, when I first moved to Florida, which was back in the 80s,
right?
That, I'd be out because, I DJ'd and, we had nighttime remotes. And so, and I was single for a while there. And so I was out late at night. And there was nights that I'd be out in my car and I would listen to WLS in Chicago.
From Florida, you bet.
Yeah. And it had a great signal down in Florida. And that's, back in the day. But now they've taken the Clear Channel stations and they've given those frequencies to other people, and now you can't do it like you used to. But back in the early days, folks, you can listen to radio stations almost anywhere.
That was a cool part of radio back in the day. And it's something young people now will be. It's almost like giving a young person a rotary dial phone. It's like, what are you talking about, Grandpa? And it's like, because they can turn on the app, like you said, iHeart Radio app on your phone and listen to any radio station anywhere. And if you have Sirius XM, you can listen to all the satellite radio stations and everything. But it is interesting that, and I think it's because I'm a radio guy, that even when I'm listening to and I have Sirius XM, I cheerfully pay for it because I like what they're doing. But I still prefer the stations on Sirius that have a live person talking. And I think that's because I'm an old radio guy. I want to hear a human voice a little bit.
Though, I don't know. I think personality radio has kind of went to the wayside. There's a few stations that will allow their talent to be talent.
Right.
But anymore, it's like, shut up and play the song.
Exactly.
And I think really probably because personality went away, I do believe a lot of the younger people do not even tune in to a radio station. They've got their Pandora, they've got their podcast,
Spotify, podcasts, all of that, you bet.
So it's really hurt the radio industry.
Yes. And with good podcasts, I mean, that's where the personalities are now. The funny, the interesting, the sexy, the cute, the whatever. They're all on the podcasts now.
You mean we're sexy and cute? Is that what you're saying about
we
our
were
podcast?
Sexy and cute. There was a time when we were sexy and cute. That is correct. Oh my God. I have no idea.
I gotta take
I remember this was
that one.
Yeah. This before you and I were working together, I worked with a guy, Steve something, and I forget what radio station it was, in Fort Myers. And we had a sales lady with a very sexy voice. And we used to have her do those, little liners. Doesn't matter who I go to bed with, as long as I wake up with BJ and Bill, kind of a thing. It's like, oh, okay. And we played the hell out of that. So anyway, but yes, you're right. But now, see, you listen to, do you or don't you? Do you listen to podcasts?
I listen to a few.
Yeah.
I'm not a big podcast person. I listen mostly, believe it or not, when I'm in my car,
right,
to the radio station in which I work at the present time.
Oh, wow.
I just like to, hear what the station is doing.
Right.
And that's usually really, well, when I've been in radio, I like to listen to other stations, but I will listen generally to the station that I'm working for because it helps you to be aware of what's going on with your radio station. Where I know a lot of people that work at radio stations, I never listen to this radio station except for when I'm on the air. It's like, no, you want to listen so you're aware of what's going on in the building and what's going on with the, the other shows.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. I do get that. I have a regular lineup of podcasts, of course, including this one, that I listen to regularly, little self-plug there. But I walk or ride my bike almost every day, and I've got my little ear pods in my ears, and I'm listening to some podcast somewhere, somehow. It's just interesting. I'm a little more interested in I don't know that. Maybe you've changed over the years, but being the news guy, I'm always still a little bit more interested in current events and what's going on in the world and stuff like that, and authors and stuff. So I listen to a lot of those. I enjoy that. That's good stuff. That's good. It's good. It's cool.
Well, where I was going before we went off on a totally different tangent is you're from Cleveland. I'm from Chicago. We were both big baseball fans growing up as kids. But now that you've moved to Florida, do you basically follow your Cleveland teams, or have you adopted Florida teams now?
Well, I will say this, that I don't follow the Cleveland baseball team anymore, the Guardians, which I understand we were trying to get away from the Cleveland Indians, which can be kind of a slur. I don't know that, but if you are a Native American and you tell me that is a slur, I take your word for it. So, but Guardians? Really? Which is worse? So to answer your question, I don't follow Cleveland Guardians at all. I kind of follow the Tampa Bay Rays a little bit. And now because I'm farther north, I'm closer to the Georgia border than I am to Tampa Bay, I kind of follow the Atlanta Braves a little bit. And that also follows because where I used to live in Venice, Florida, the Braves built a gorgeous spring training facility. Like literally I could ride my bike to from where I used to live in Venice. And so I kind of follow the Braves, but I not so much in the baseball thing until the playoffs start. And then I'm pretty well, I'm not going to say I'm locked in, but I'm interested and I'm watching and I have the games on,
I would say now that I'm older, and I would never believe this back when I was a child, baseball is probably at the bottom of my sports spectrum.
I would
agree when I
you.
was younger, and maybe it was because of the times too.
Right.
And, when we grew up, everybody seemed to want to be a baseball player when they grew up.
Yes.
And so I don't know, it was a bigger deal to me. Although when the Cubs won the World Series, I will admit I was watching and I had tears coming down my face going, oh my God, this is so cool.
Well, it had only been 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be another 100 years.
Probably. Now and I know where you're going with this, and I'm going to tell you right off the top, I blame you for this. And here it is, world. Here it is. Listen to me carefully. I am a hockey fan.
Oh, I love hockey.
I know you do. And you're the one that got me into it.
Well, here's what it was. I would watch the Blackhawks every once in a while when I lived up north.
Right.
And that was every once in a while. And then I moved down here and hockey kind of, went out the window for me.
Right.
But then we got this farm team in Fort Myers, the Everblades.
Florida Everblades. Best logo ever.
I was the first person in the world to say, hockey in Florida? It'll never work. And I bet you now they've been in existence probably about as long as, we were on the air last. We were on the air.
Yes.
And we'd have the Everblade players come in and we'd talk to them. 25
years.
So easy. I remember when they first went, got going, that place was full. Every game, almost every game was a sellout. And maybe after 10, 15 years, it slowly kind of tapered down. I don't know how it is now because I haven't been to a game in a long time, but I actually had season tickets for, probably 5-6 years.
Wow.
I wouldn't miss a game. That was my entertainment. But I would say right now on my spectrum, and I don't know if it has anything to do with us working for Shaquille O'Neal or not, but I would say my favorite sport is probably basketball.
Wow.
I follow basketball like a hawk, but I do not follow the Bulls. I follow either, Miami Heat.
Yeah.
And I also, which I've never lived west of the Mississippi in my life, but I love the Warriors. The Golden State Warriors has been my team for the last 5 years. And I hate it because I always have to stay up late to watch the games.
You're right. I'm kind of, if there was, and I'm not a Warriors fan, but I do like the Heat, definitely. Miami Heat, great team, fun to watch. And yes, we do kind of work for Shaq, sort of. The house that Shaq built. Maybe we could do it that way. The house that Shaq built. If there's a good hockey game on or a good basketball game on, what am I going to watch? I'm probably going to watch the basketball game too. It's really, really close. Really close. But football, don't call me on Sunday. I'm locked in from 1:00 until midnight. I'm on front of the TV. I did it. We're recording this on a Monday. I did it yesterday. On Sunday, I was in front of the TV the whole day. So it does not matter to me. So
what is your team?
Tampa. It's easy to say Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, of course, but it is. It kind of is. And I'll still watch Cleveland just for fun. But I don't get a whole lot of those games. I should probably get NFL Sunday ticket or something like that. But yeah, I'll watch all of those games. That's fun stuff. Just to go back to the hockey thing for 1 minute, and then we'll take a break here. I remember when we were working in Fort Myers at the radio station, and we had that rich real estate agent friend, and we used to get into the luxury boxes to watch. Oh
yeah, I forget what his name was, but yeah. Oh,
I don't remember his name either, but
can I.
That was the best.
Did you ever get invited? And I can't remember this, but not only did the big, which we can't remember his name, real estate tycoon, not only have a, skybox for the Everblades and anything that happened, inside back in those days, it was Tico Arena. Now it's Hertz Arena.
Hertz Arena. Yeah.
But he also had a big yacht.
I remember. And no, I was never on the damn boat. And you would come back with stories that I'm like, how did I miss that?
The best part was the week we were on the boat, and the lady who got the new units up around the chest area was wanting to show them off to everyone.
And here we are 25 years on a podcast and can cheerfully talk about a lady having augmentation. and we struggled talking about that on the radio 25 years ago. I remember. Yeah, I missed that. Damn it. I missed that.
Those were some good times on a yacht, let me tell you.
All right. For those of you just joining, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we'll take our break, get some coffee.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Really, it's a podcast. We'll be back in seconds, folks.
In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome back. It's the BJ and Bill podcast with yours truly, Bill Stevens. And over there, that's BJ Odom. Just a couple of old men losing their hair and talking about fun old times.
We were talking about sports before we took just a 5-second break.
Yes.
Of course, in real life, we went and got new coffees but
bathroom
we are here.
Stop, whole thing. You bet.
I wanted to tell people how I was never a football fan. I was never really a big sports fan. I mean, I liked hockey and I liked my baseball when I was, younger.
Right.
But when I had my heart transplant, it was in 2003.
Yes.
I was at Tampa General.
Yes.
If you know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know what happened in 2003.
First Super Bowl with John Gruden.
Yep. Well, I was not a football fan at all, but like the beginning of that whole year, 2003, I was in and out of the hospital, all through the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And let me tell you, there were nurses, there were doctors, probably not in the surgery room, but there were doctors actually wearing Tampa Bay Buccaneer jerseys.
In the hospital.
That's how big and how excited the people in Tampa Bay were.
Yes.
Like I said, I was never a football fan. Now, I've also heard stories that when you get a transplant, you can, get like if the other guy had or the other person had like favorite flavors.
Oh, sure.
Colors.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But yeah, you pick up on something on some of the things that the transplant donor, their life, right? I mean, right. So tell us that story.
And I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if it's because everybody at Tampa General was so into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the fact that the guy's heart that I got was so much of a football fan. But I would, like you said, Sundays, you are glued to the TV.
Right.
I never watched Sunday football. I never watched college football. I couldn't care less who won the game on Saturday or Sunday.
Got it.
I get my heart transplant, and I have been one of the biggest Buccaneer and football fans that has ever walked on the face of the earth. Before that, it was always either wrestling, hockey, or NASCAR were the only three sports that I cared anything about.
Interesting.
So there you go.
I totally believe, and I've read, I mean, I'm not like a doctor. I don't even play one on TV, but I've read some books, again, not super scientific books, but I have read a lot about this subject. And especially, I mean, from the spiritual angle, from the you get. So I totally believe that if you have a heart transplant, that you will inherit some of the qualities or some of, I don't know what it is, that thing that you get, but you get a connection to the person who donated the heart. I mean, especially the heart, because the heart has, and this is a little geeky, but the heart has brain cells in it. They're not brain cells, but the heart has its own kind of cells that are like brain cells, which is why you feel things in your heart as well. And your heart has intuition. And anyway, long story short, for another day. So my question to you is, did anything else change? I mean, like you said, you became a football fan. Okay, we can assume maybe the guy, did any, your tastes in food or music or anything like that? It's like, boy, I used to hate that, but now I love that.
No, everything else was pretty much the same, but I wasn't, a sports fan. I mean, I didn't even watch that much NASCAR. Right. I watched a little NASCAR. I watched a little hockey because, that I got, turned on by the Everblades, which was in our town. But never would I say, if someone came out to me, are you a sports fan?
Right.
I would have said, no. I can take it or leave it. But now, every morning, now that I'm not working, obviously, but every morning I usually listen to ESPN for 2 or 3 hours in the morning. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of my go-to when I wake up, turning on ESPN. You could have asked me before my transplant. I didn't even know what ESPN was.
Funny.
I thought it was where you could read somebody's mind.
ESPN. Yeah, I like it. I like it. So, well, did you ever find out? I mean, I know they don't tell you where the heart comes. I remember a story you told about getting your heart transplant, because some people wait for years and you didn't. You were either lucky or whatever. And I remember a story you told years ago about getting your heart transplant and having a donor organ the way you did. And that your doctor told you, this is the story I remember you telling you. Your doctor told you, oh, you've come for a transplant at a good time. And you said, what do you mean good time? And he said, spring break. Do you remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
And I thought, wow, what a great story. What a horrible, beautiful story.
Now, I will tell you this. I think there was a heart for me when they told me, because they told me like late Saturday night.
Right.
They said, we've got a heart coming for you. And it'll be here tomorrow morning.
FedEx.
So I called my wife. The kids come. My wife comes all the way from Fort Myers to the hospital.
Right.
And, I don't get a transplant all day long. And I'm thinking, what is going on
Sunday?
I'm not getting a transplant. So I truly believe I got another heart, because I did not get my heart until late Sunday night. And now a friend of mine who lives in the Tampa Bay area said that the day that I got my transplant, she read in the paper that a young man and his girlfriend was riding a motorcycle without a helmet. She lived. He was brain dead. They donated his organs. So he was a donor.
Right there in Tampa is where.
Right. That's where it happened.
Okay.
Now, when they said they were bringing a heart in, that means they were probably flying a heart in.
Right.
And I don't know if it went to somebody else, if it didn't get there or what. I don't understand any of this because, like you said, you're pretty much in the dark. They don't tell you a whole lot.
Right.
But they did tell me this. They go, this heart was made for you. We put it in your chest and unclamped the clamps, and it started beating on its own, which almost every time we need to give it a little, charge.
A little jump start. Yeah.
Yeah. And they go, we put it in, we undid the clamps. It started beating on its own.
Unbelievable. I've seen that. I don't know, some National Geographic special or something like that. And I've seen a heart transplant do that sort of thing. And they showed the same thing. The doctor literally takes his hand off and it starts to beat. And I'm like, oh my God, if that is not a miracle, I don't know what is. So anyway, and here you are, 25, 30 years later, same heart.
Yeah, almost 20 years. Yeah.
20 years, number 2.
Hard to believe.
Still works for you.
Yeah, so far so good.
You got, that's like your same body. You got a new engine. I mean, come on now. Who wouldn't take a 60-year-old car with a 20-year-old engine in it?
So that's where my story is with football. I don't know right. About it. And I don't know if the answer is the donor or if the answer was just everybody in 2003 in Tampa Bay. I mean, because you got, when I was in the hospital, I had to watch Tampa Bay TV.
Sure.
They were all Tampa Bay crazy, like the newscast and everything else. So was it all that? Was it the donor or was it a combination of both? But like I said, before that operation, now my wife probably hates it because I would be one of those guys Sundays, wouldn't be watching football. We could watch, whatever she wanted to. Right. Now it's like, no, we're watching football. She goes, we've already watched the game. Yeah, but we're watching another one.
Already watched the game. Yeah, they're all different. Hello. But no, I hear you. I totally get that. But I know your house and I know your wife. How many TVs do you have in your house? She can go watch something else.
We actually have 3. Yeah.
Right.
But she will watch a Tampa Bay game.
Right.
She will watch a Gator game.
Right.
And she will, believe it or not. And I don't know if she just does it, but she will watch a NASCAR race.
Wow.
But like if other teams are playing or something, she don't want
not so
nothing
much.
to do with it.
Not so much. I got to tell you, I used to think, before I got into it, I used to think hockey was like, oh my God, it's like so boring. It's just skating back and forth and confusion and occasionally a nice hit. Or hockey, boring. But then I got into it and it's like, okay, cool. I appreciate, I can see what's going on. I figured it out. NASCAR, still in the boring category. Sorry. Still step on the gas and turn left. I get it.
That's not it. That's not it at all.
Okay. I know.
There is so much strategy. Yeah, so much of that. I mean, when to pit,
right?
When to take tires,
right?
You know, there are things that they have to, know knowledge.
I guess
they have computers now. It's just, it's unbelievable what they go through. But
I hear you.
To me, it's exciting.
Okay,
but I know a lot of people. You're not alone.
I know.
Left turn.
Step on the gas. Left turn. Yeah. I get it. And hey, every 3 years, I think curling is the most exciting thing in the world too. It's just,
I've never thought that.
I don't either. That's okay.
Now, how about you in golf? I'm not a golf fan at all. I could care less about a golf game.
If there's absolutely positively nothing else on a Sunday afternoon, I will occasionally, and I mean rarely, turn it on to see what's happening. But I used to do it a little. No, I didn't even watch that much. But when I was younger, again, back in Fort Myers days, I mean, I had a regular 3-4 guys that we would go and play a couple of, not a lot, once or twice a month, when we could. But I enjoyed it. I've always been terrible at it, a terrible golf. But of course, golf is just an excuse to get out in the sun and drink beer anyway. So I enjoyed it, but I'm terrible at it. Maybe when I quote, I'm doing my air quotes, maybe when I retire officially, I'll take it up again. I don't know.
The windmill always gets me. I just get it.
The windmill always gets you. Sorry, that's funny. But yes,
I never get it. And I never can get it in that clown's damn mouth either. I just can't do it.
The alligator mouth, the big gator mouth. You got to get it into the gator mouth. I'm in Gainesville. Everything's gator here. So yeah, I hear you. That's funny. Yeah, no, I totally get it. That's
okay. Round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
That's awesome. So we've spent more time talking about sports this time around. So do you do anything now? Are you, other than drive your golf cart around, pretending that you're a NASCAR driver?
Well, I work on Sunday night. Well, not Sunday night, it's Sunday afternoons.
Right.
1 to 4 on WPCV in Lakeland, Florida.
Right. And which you can listen to it on the internet if you'd like to, folks.
And now, that, I don't know, we both had COVID and I've had COVID twice now and I've lived through it. We are once again beginning to go to Disney all the time.
Oh,
whenever we can.
Yes.
So now I think that, things are cooling off because it was just really hot for the summer.
Yeah.
And of course, our passes won't allow us to go during the summer anyway. We just started to, get to go back. I think we're probably going to do a lot of Disney. Now this week that we're recording this, I got an appointment, which I hate to have 2 in the same week, but I have an appointment Tuesday in Tampa. It's for a sleep therapy doctor because I think you wear this machine.
Oh, a CPAP machine, sleep apnea.
Yeah,
it's go ahead and finish your story and then I'll tell you mine.
I'm just going to say I can't wear those things, but I had that appointment Tuesday.
Right.
And then my heart's been out of rhythm a little bit, but now I'm taking medicine to get it back in rhythm. So on Thursday, I have an appointment with the rhythm doctor. I call him the heart electrician.
Oh, heart electrician. And I was thinking more rhythm. I was thinking like, you mean like music, like smooth jazz or what? I don't know, but I like that too. I like the heart electrician. Yeah. That's funny. That's wow. No, the sleep thing. I can't imagine. I can't imagine sleeping without it eventually if I'm successful in continuing to lose some weight and get in better shape. I think I could eventually get myself off of the CPAP machine. But right now, no CPAP, no sleep. Not me. And I've been using it for 15, 20 years. So I'm totally used to it and totally okay with it. So love it.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting doctor's appointment.
Yes.
Because I had a CPAP machine and I sold it at a garage sale because after my kidney transplant, because I gained a lot of weight before the kidney transplant.
Right.
I was probably 30, 40 pounds more than I am right now. And so probably I did need it, but I slept better without it than with it.
Okay.
But my wife would actually hear me stop breathing at night.
Yes.
Now, after the kidney transplant, I ripped that thing off and said, I ain't going to do this no more. I've lost weight. I'm feeling better. And she goes, well, sounds like you're doing okay. I'm not hearing you not breathe.
Right.
I'm not getting scared. Maybe she's just getting old and can't hear as well. I don't know. Or maybe she's just saying a little longer, just not breathe for a little longer. That's all.
Boy, all these fun old guy stories. Isn't this awesome, folks? Aren't you just enthralled listening to two old men talking about their medical problems? You could go, normally you could go to like McDonald's on a Sunday night and do that, but no, here we are. You can't go to a fast food place. My father used to do that. He would get up early after he retired and he would go to McDonald's and have coffee with the other old men early in the morning when they opened. Can't do that anymore.
There was a donut shop in my hometown.
What's that?
There was a donut shop in my hometown.
Donut shop.
Everybody had to go to the donut shop and drink coffee and have a donut.
Perfect.
And basically talk about the same stuff we're talking about.
It's who knows? Yeah, there must be one of those or one or more of those in every town where people just still go to talk and gossip and exchange, which is cool. I mean, I still like in-person stuff, so that's awesome. That is awesome.
See, it's really weird. I love comedy and I love being in front of a crowd. I like being on the radio, but anymore, and I don't know, maybe because I'm getting older, I just don't like people. Hope they're not listening, but we've had friends that invited us over and the wife, let's go. You go. I'm just going to stay home and watch my TV. I'm not a social butterfly.
I get that. I totally get that because here I am, a single man of in his 6th or 7th decade, wherever that put, a single man of 65 living in my comfortable little 1-bedroom apartment. And I love it. I love having my own place, my own space. It's quiet. It's decorated the way I like, which is almost not at all. I eat what I like. I watch what I like. I'm good. People are like, oh, aren't you lonely? Hell no. I'm fine. Maybe I'm turning into a curmudgeon in my old age. Or whatever that means.
I still like having the wife around. It's just anybody else. Right. I like having the kids around too.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure she's glad to hear that.
I like the kids. Right. I like the wife.
You have great kids, so that's true. We work for one of them, so that's good.
But it's like, I don't need to be this. I don't need to go down to the clubhouse, and have a potluck, or I don't need to,
Right.
The only time I do like it though, we have every once in a while I'll have lunch at the clubhouse where some broker or whatever have something for sale will come in,
right,
and they provide lunch and you listen to this deal. But I'm saying, hey, it's free. I'll go. It's a free lunch. I can turn off my hearing aid.
I did that a bunch in Sarasota. It's like Medicare insurance, health insurance, life insurance, funeral expense, whatever. Is it a free meal? And where is it? Is it a good place? Or is it like at Panera or something? Not that Panera is not good, but I ain't leaving the house for half a sub and a bowl of soup. If it's a good restaurant, I'm there.
Now, our place here in Winter Haven is the harbor side.
Right.
That's kind of like the uppity, expensive, nice restaurant to go out to, kind of a, special night. And one time they had one of those there. I go, I'm there. Because I can't afford to go anytime that they don't give me free.
Can't afford to go otherwise. I hear you. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Again, two old men bitching about their health problems and free food and all that. What's that?
Your children will also get this old and you'll be excited as we are.
I really wish that there was some way that we as grown-ups, I hate that, but seniors, whatever, could transfer, could communicate that to young people to say, enjoy the hell out of it now, because pretty soon, before you know it, you're going to look like this.
And it's going to suck.
And it's going to suck. No, it doesn't suck. But I mean, and it's going to be, you're going to creak and groan when you get out of bed. You're going to have to, be careful that you go to the bathroom often enough. You're going to, all of that stuff. And it happens so damn fast.
And even if you want to do it, boys and girls, you got to have a little blue pill now, when you get to be my age.
Little blue pill. Does that work for you?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes? So, not always?
Not always for me anymore.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember being young. I said, if that ever quits working, you can shoot me. Well, no one shot me yet, but
I don't know. Because I did the exact same thing when I was in my 20s and even in my 30s and even, 40s, it started to change a little bit. But even then I remember thinking to myself, God, who are these old people and what are they griping about and what is their problem and why, blah, 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 blah. And here I am and I go, oh my God. Where did this happen? When did the switch get flipped? And now I'm an old crotchety guy. I mean, you and I were going to talk, maybe, I don't know if we only got a few minutes left here, but we were talking about the idea of turning into your parents. I think that's a good topic for another show all by itself. So maybe we'll kind of just tease that.
It'd be better if you could start out when you die and go backwards. But, there's people that die at young ages, so I can't really say that.
There was a movie. There was that Brad Pitt did it. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. How about that one? You ever see that movie?
No.
That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. I mean, that it was a, kind of a fantasy sci-fi kind of, he was born an old man and he got younger as he went. It was a funny, interesting, touching kind of a movie. And he met a woman in between as he was in his 30s and she was in hers and he was getting young. They kind of passed. They had their affair and she was getting older. He was getting young. It was Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Brad Pitt. Go look it up. It's probably on Hulu or whatever. So yeah, but you're right. It would be a lot more fun because you have more up in, I'm pointing at my head. You have more, more, and you're more, and you're okay with who you are. That's the important thing. I think look at this. We're doing life lessons now. It only took us 55 minutes. We're doing life lessons. I think when you get to be our age, you're okay with not doing things. Like you said, if you don't want to go out, you just say, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be with those people. I don't like that situation. It doesn't matter what the reason is. You don't have to make excuses for the way you think and the way you feel. And that's where you get when you get to be our age, I think. I mean, some people still struggle with it, but I know young people, it's like they're too busy trying to get likes and shares on Instagram and too worried, I think. Too worried about what their friends think.
Make sure you like the BJ Odom page.
That's right. By the way, wow, how's that for a shameless plug and quite the pivot there. Go like the BJ and Bill show on Facebook. Go like that right now. So, show us a little love here. But anyway, I enough of a rant. I think we need to do that though. I think we need to do the Are You Turning Into Your Parents show maybe next time.
Even people say you're so much like your father.
Have you heard that? I mean,
I've heard that from plenty of people. And I've heard that from cousins. I've heard that from my sister-in-law.
Really?
They're all telling me you're so much like your father. You're turning into your father. I mean, I hear it almost weekly, and I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, I don't mind it, but
no, I mean, really, be honest. I didn't know your father. I know your brother. But is that a compliment to you, or is that not so much?
I would say it's a compliment because he was very well liked, a good man, you know.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, that's another story too. We're talking about people dying. Right. I come from a small town, and I was nosing on Facebook. I told my wife, I go, you know what? There's only two things that happens in that town. You're either going to someone's wedding or you're going to someone's wake. That's all they do there. That's all they do in that town.
I remember my father when he was alive, and it was a long time ago. I mean, he hasn't been gone all that long, but I remember when he was retiring or in his retirement years, early, like my age, like mid-60s, he would tell me, he says, the only thing I do now is, he says, I judge the passing of time by the funerals I'm going to. You know, all of the people that he knew and everything like that. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But so, okay. And I don't know. I don't have the extended family like you do. So I don't know. I only have a few people that would have known my father that would have told me that I was like him. But honestly, I think I'm more like my mother. She had, I think, the better sense of humor, and she was a little more well-read or something like it. Anyway, I don't know. It's another show for another day, and I think it's a great idea.
My mother was too sweet for me to be like her.
Your mother was too sweet. Yeah. Yeah. My mother was sweet too, but she had a sarcastic side to her, and I appreciated it then, and I think I still do. In fact, I know that I do. I mean, my parents are gone, so you know, Mom, Dad, wherever you are, thanks for the work, bringing this guy up. So there you go. Boy, what an interesting journey! What a long, strange trip this has been for an hour.
No kidding. What's going to come with you know what? Let's say this. This will be a little tease before we leave.
I love that.
Now, I don't know if I ever told you this story or not.
Ooh.
The way the BJ and Bill show actually got together was a strange chain of events.
Wow.
And I remember. That's all I'll say till next week.
I'm writing down BJ and Bill show origin story. Dun, dun, dun. I remember. Well, I'm not going to tell you what I remember. I'll tell you that next week. We'll save that for the next show. How's that? So, because I have my story about it, might be totally wrong.
Well,
awesome.
It'll be funny to compare the two and how it all came together.
I'll
tell you what, if our boss, Jim Radford, listens to the show, he's going to go, oh my God, what did I do?
I still hear from him rarely, but occasionally on Facebook. So we'll have to let him know that the show is out there, or at least tag him. Speaking of tagged, if you are enjoying this, please go to your handy dandy Facebook app, open it up and search for the BJ and Bill Show Facebook page. Go over there and like it.
The BJ and Bill podcast.
The BJ and Bill podcast. Say it again. The BJ and Bill podcast.
Podcast. That's Facebook. You want to email us, and it comes to both of our email boxes, BJ and Bill Show @gmail.com.
Got it. And if you have a question, or if you a memory or a rant, feel free to send it on over. You can do it on Facebook or by email. It doesn't matter. And we're going to actually start checking on those and reading on those in the weeks to come, right?
Right.
Awesome. It's going to do it for this week. You want to take us out?
I just have one thing to say.
Yes.
See ya.
See ya.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.